What's up, everybody? It's Glitterwrench, and I have not made a video in about 3 weeks. 1 week because I was sick, the next week because I had to put in a lot of work on our 8 to the 4th project that was taking up a lot of my energy, and then the next week because I'm studying for a final exam because our semester is coming to an end, so I apologize. Anyway, today's video is going to be related to my situation. I'm going to be telling you guys 3 or 4 things that I noticed about community college versus homeschool / high school, and 3 study tips that you guys can use when you guys go to community college or regular college. And this video, I hope, is useful. The first thing that I've noticed is different from high school is that people don't judge you so much when you come in. They're not really worried about, you know, who's got what phone, who's got what clothes on, who's got what shoes, who's playing basketball right now, who got kicked off the football team. Nobody is that integrated into each other's life. Like, this is really what community college is, kind of like the top chunk of high school. So being judged by all those do-nothingers who have nothing really better to think about probably will not be a problem. The next thing that I noticed is there are absolutely no lockers or anything. This might just be at my college, but I'm pretty sure every four-year institution or other college of any other sort, there are no lockers and no places to stash your stuff. So when you're going in each day, make sure to pack smart and only take what you need for that day. So like your snack and your 2 books maybe for whatever class you're taking that day. Don't like take everything because you won't be able to drop it off anywhere. So keep that in mind. The next thing that I've noticed is the pace that the professors take you. Like, we covered literally 5 chapters in 1 day, because when you get near the end of the semester, you're crunching, but so is your professor to get all the required material covered to you before you get tested for your final exam. So the importance of taking notes is really a lot because of the volume and the expectancy of just how much you're going to be covering per day. Like, try to learn to be focused for long periods of time of accepting a lot of information. Kind of the last thing that I've noticed over my 3 or 4 months of being at a community college is that talking will get you stared at. If you have somebody who's in the back of your class at any college or four-year institution, like 4 institutions, probably there's like nobody talking, but at community college maybe there might be 1 or 2 people who are just chattering in the back. That is kind of really unexpected and unacceptable, because unlike in high school where people kind of know you're going to be mumbling to your friends around, like, people will stare at you and kind of go like this if you're talking in the back of a college class. So don't expect to be able to socialize halfway through the lecture. Also, you know, if you're talking, you're not really listening, which means you're not really learning anything. So try not to talk too much in class, and that's just not a thing. Now I'm going to give you guys some tips for studying for exams, which is something that I had to learn as my first year. You cannot just go in thinking you know it just because you did all the homework assignments. That will not work. You have to do what's called studying. The first tip that I have for you is take really good notes during the class, especially when it's easy, because you're not going to be able to remember like 6 chapters of things over 4 or 5 weeks before you have your next exam. So take good notes, and I'm going to insert a little clip of my note page for my pre-calculus and trig, and you guys can adapt this note style, but the theme of it is organization. Here's an example of my note page. I took these notes on logs. You can see I write the topic, basic log rules, inverse property of logs, domain and domain of the inverse of the log, exponential functions, and logs. So I like block all of my items, and I do examples and checkpoints in my book, and I try to keep everything really neat and organized, and I try to avoid the just copy it on the board, copy off the board system, because then you have to translate it later, and it's like taking the notes twice. The next thing, these tips are also still mostly a little bit catered to mathematics, because that's what I'm taking, but you guys can adjust them. The next tip is exhaustive studying, and before you say exhaustive like, oh, I'm so tired, that's not the right type of exhaustive. I mean, like, go through everything. Like, don't think, okay, I already know what the sine value of pi over 3 is. Don't just assume that. Just go through each thing, read each chapter, or maybe do some checkpoint exercises for each chapter, make flashcards, like, do everything. If you have tests on chapter 3, go through all of chapter 3, not just the last half maybe, because that was hard. Make sure you do everything. So my next tip is exhaustive study. That's what I mean by just go through all of it. The last step for studying for exam, tip, is plan well. Do not start the cram thing. The cram thing will kill ya. You will not be able to remember your stuff. Like, you'll be like, oh my god, I just did this. I just still don't know. that's not good. So I would say plan well, like 3 days at least. If you have maybe just a 1-chapter test, then you need to cover everything. And if you try to cover everything in one day, you'll be like freaking out and it's too much for your brain to handle. But if you review over like 2 or 3 days, then definitely you'll be better off. So planning your study schedule, make sure you have all your exam dates out, and then all the time blocks that you're giving yourself to review all your stuff before you go. So right quick again, the 3 tips that I have for you. Number 1 is the study page I show you. Organize your notes really well. Make sure you put all the important things and maybe highlight them or block them like I did, like I showed you on my page. Tip number 2 is definitely to plan well. You need to make sure that you have all your study dates out in front of you for each of your classes, and you give yourself 3 or 4 days to get ready for the test so you're not freaking out at the end. And tip number 3 is the exhaustive study method, which I think really works. Before you think, don't think it's like super hard. It just means go through everything, don't skip steps, don't like just do the last half of the chapter. So those are my 3 tips and my thoughts about community college, some things that I've noticed and some things that I hope will help you be successful in your classes. And so that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe to this channel. I will be making videos. I'll try to do it every other weekend until I finish my course, and then I'll try to keep up my weekly thing again. And so like and subscribe to this channel. Like and subscribe to 8 of the 4th, which is my other YouTube project. And I will be putting shoutouts in this video. So here you guys go. And I'll see you later.